Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Techniche Tips. I am your host, Joseph M. Smith, and like always, we have another one for you. And we have a special guest, like all of our guests, they're special, but this is a special guest because of not just what he has done with his own career, but is what he's looking to do with others, especially the youth. So if you are interested in learning more, before you even go further, go ahead and like this particular video if you're watching on LinkedIn, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're on Instagram, and you can share it with others. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe as well. But I am excited to bring our guest to the stage, Eric Brown Jr. How are you doing, sir? How are you feeling?
Excellent, excellent. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I told him before that we had this conversation, like he's an amazing smile. If you feel that way, go ahead and put the likes in the comment section below because we have a wonderful conversation in front of us. Now, before I kind of dive into the history of who you are, if you don't mind, if you could just talk about your past, we would just kind of love to hear a little bit about what got you to where you are and who you are currently.
Yeah, sure. Eric Brown, technologist, mentor, coach. But I would say the one thing that's been core about my journey is that I am very curious. I enjoy learning and experimenting. And as a kid, I would tinker, take things apart, put things back together. At least I attempted to put things back together in one season.
Yeah.
But I really found early in my journey, even like age 13, 14, that I enjoy teaching and helping others understand what they can do with technology. I remember going to Best Buy, and at the time, Bluetooth was starting to become popular. People had the Bluetooth headsets for their phone, and I was just doing research on the different Bluetooth headsets. And a gentleman came up to me, and he was like, "Oh, like what is this? What does it do? What's the value of it?" And essentially, I told him about it. I sold it to him. I said, "Hey, when you're done, I'll help you configure it to your phone or to your car." And he thought I worked there, and I didn't. I was just an enthusiast just looking. And I realized at that moment that, like, you know what, there's something about learning about tech, but it's also the value in being able to help others be able to realize the value of it. And so
Hmm.
that's something I've been doing since I was young.
No, I love it. But you have a desire to not only educate or be educated, but to educate others, and I think that shows in your journey, right? Uh, I'm gonna probably speak a little bit about you and kind of lift you up a little bit. You are a Harvard University Graduate School of Education research fellow. I believe that's the title there. Like it's a part of who you are, right? There's a lot of things that you have going on, and I'm gonna go to the comment section before I continue because Ayana says Eric Brown is the man. Ayana is in the building, and so we're so glad to have you, and so glad to have Ty come up next. Ty is her husband. He's actually speaking right after this. So after our conversation, I'm hopping over there to hear him speak. But yeah, no, honestly, I think when we look back at our stories, we realize that there are things that a part of our stories really that really shape who we are. And so let's just talk a little bit about it. You came with a teaching fellow at Harvard, and then you got into research. And then from there, you decided, hey, I'm going to pivot and go as a technical solutions professional. Is that where you kind of found that, like, okay, I'm going to take the research and actually be able to apply it to a particular business or service?
Yeah, so honestly, I started doing research after already being in tech. I went to Delaware State University undergrad, and it was there that I got an opportunity through the Thurgood Marshall Leadership Institute to get into the tech space. And so I started at Microsoft in kind of a sales, cloud sales role. And then from there, had several other different types of roles. And a mentor, came to me and says, Eric, the trajectory that you're on, you're really great. You're doing well, technical, but I feel like there's more to your story. I think there's more to
Hmm.
you. And he kind of challenged me to say, like, why not you? And that really was the catalyst for me to think about, well, in addition to being able to help enterprises understand this technology, how can I lean more into the educator in innovation space? And I was able to find an opportunity at Harvard, the technical program there that focuses on technology, innovation, and education. And that's where I started the research kind of after already being in industry.
Nice. So that research led you to understand, like, hey, I need to move more into education. And shout out to your mentor, whoever that was, that basically said, I see something in you, Eric. You could be more. Let's pivot our focus into that direction of what you can do and what you can be. And so that helped you to basically found what you're doing right now, which I believe is called pronounced Elevate Coaching and Consulting. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you're able to make an impact through that endeavor?
Yeah. So one thing I have the privilege of doing is being able to help leaders, organizations, as well as individuals go from envisioning what they desire or what they think is possible to being able to have proof of concepts to ultimately deploying solutions that create business and societal impact. And I really enjoy going from a lens of research and process, but also making things that are really human centered, understanding that we all have aspirations, but you have to have a clear plan, roadmap, goals in order to get there. And so being able to walk alongside individuals and leaders to be able to create cultures of innovation and cultures where learning and growth is embedded in the process is something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, and we actually had a conversation prior to this, and you kind of mentioned that your target, more or less, in regards to who you want to help, has kind of shifted in a way where you're looking to connect with youth serving organizations. Again, can you dive a little bit deeper into the passion that you have for serving the youth specifically and why you decided to make that pivot?
Yeah, I would say even going back to my journey as a middle schooler, I actually was taken out of school for different challenges, behavioral, academic. I was never, at least in that season, was not really the best student
Mm.
or even the best leader in my space. And it's interesting. Sometimes you end up going back full circle in your life journey. And so, long story short, I found that being able to empower students like myself that had lots of potential, had lots of energy, lots of curiosity, but didn't necessarily thrive within the traditional school system. There are lots of nonprofits, foundations, after school programs that are providing different means of showcasing brilliance that I find that I wish I had when I was at their age. And I went through lots of journeys to get to where I am. And I want to make sure that the next generation is able to thrive in a easier method and pathway or create new pathways. And so I found that nonprofits and after school programs have a little bit more agency, flexibility in being able to meet students where they are. And so, like I mentioned, although my goal is to empower enterprises, I realize that it's important to also plant seeds and nurture the next generation. And I find that nonprofits and after school programs are a great place to be able to empower students, but also parents to be able to control the narratives, but also create new pathways for their student success.
Nice. And what I want to ask you, because as we're talking, I'm thinking as well, how do you appeal to the youth? Because they might be busy trying to do other things in their life. They might say, hey, I have interest in sports, I have interest in music, or I have interest in these other things. I'm not interested in STEM, I'm not interested in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or whatever the case may be. How do you get the parents and the children to be able to say, you know what, let's actually look at this a little bit more?
No, that's a great question. And I think that's always important to listen to the youth, what their interests are, what they care about, and just being able to make the connections. So oftentimes I'm like, okay, what are you interested in? Are you interested in cosmetology? Are you interested in agriculture? And then being able to say, did you know that here are some tools or here are some ways that innovation is transforming this industry or ways where you're able to do things in a more efficient way or just understand, let's figure out where they are in their curiosity around whatever their cause is or whatever their passion or pathway is. But then showing them that, hey, technology is involved. And I find that when I give them the free reign to say, hey, you can do anything in STEM as it relates to this thing that you care a lot about, they go really deep. They come up with some really unique problems and they come up with some scenarios that have never been thought of before. And so I think it does begin with being able to be intentional of listening to students and figure out what they're interested in and then tapping that into the STEM field.
That's the wisest thing that I think to do is like, okay, what are your interests? Let's start there and realize that there is a connection to not only your interests, but to technology, to mathematics, to these different areas in STEM that can really help you to elevate in regards to possible career and bridging that gap from the present to the future. Now, one of the things that we could talk about as being the future is AI, right? So AI literacy, understanding AI, it's the wild, wild west right now for a lot of different places and a lot of different companies. And so I love that you're passionate about developing curriculum or even developing a path for people to understand AI, specifically for youth. Can you kind of dive into why that's important to empower these communities to be able to utilize AI even at this stage?
Yeah, I think that, as an educator, I do believe in just having strong foundations. And you think about 21st century skills, computational thinking, um, initially it can be overwhelming to think about these topics, but once you are able to find, okay, what do students have a passion for, what do they care about, and then mapping it to the emerging technologies that are in the marketplace today, I think it's really important to connect those dots. Now, as it relates to curriculum and being able to incorporate these tools and these lessons into after school programs, what have you, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. There are some amazing courses out there, whether it is from Microsoft or Google or MIT or Stanford. There are so many different foundations out there that have created curriculum to empower educators to incorporate this.
Mm.
I find that the challenge oftentimes is being able to upskill the educators to be able to know exactly how to incorporate it and understand what is their outcomes. And I think that you have to begin with a particular goal of like, what experience do I want my students to have? Is it just about exposure? Is it a particular skill set that I want them to obtain, that I want them to get certification? And so for every organization it varies, but I would say one of the things that I'm doing as an advocate is saying that, you know what, you don't have to start from scratch. There are definitely a plethora of platforms and resources available, and depending on their goals and what their staffing looks like, I'm able to kind of connect the dots and point them to different resources that are available.
Yeah, I think that. Well, listen, let me pause right now. Audience, if y'all finding value out of this conversation, go ahead and like this right now. Share this with others. We're gonna actually have a Q&A later on. And because of Memorial Day, I'm gonna just keep it up. I'm not gonna get rid of the LinkedIn connection. LinkedIn, you'll be able to be part of this Q&A as well. But I'm gonna say for everybody else who is here, go ahead, like, comment, and share because we're gonna dive into it and we'll be able to answer your questions. Because let's go back to something that I put in the title here because it actually came up. By Farris said, "My brain read inventor," but innovator. Let's define what an innovator is because I know that's the title that you go by. What is an innovator for the audience?
Yeah, it's interesting. When you think about innovation, oftentimes you do think about technology, but it's essentially about improving a process. I think when you think about innovation today, it can be in the context of education, how we're able to take things that already exist to build upon it to create a new experience or outcome that's better than it was before. That can include transition the process, being able to add new technology. But I think ultimately it's about having the mindset to take uh, different disciplines that may be not related initially, put them together to be able to come up with something net new.
Mm.
And it can be obviously technical, but it can also be social and process oriented as well. So it's a combination of people, process, technology to be able to create a new outcome that ultimately has a better experience for target users.
Yeah, and innovation basically could be in anything, right? There's innovators in every sphere of walk on life, like you said, it's social as well, and so that's a great thing to kind of apply to ourselves. It's like curiosity really is the bedrock of innovation, and so if we could ask ourselves the questions like, what gaps do we see around us? That answering that question could lead to innovation in that particular area. So I think that's a great point that you made there. And now I want to go back to upskilling and reskilling because this is a very tricky thing when we talk about education. There are certain people that have been in schools tenured for a long time, right? That for them to learn something new at this stage, you're like, listen, I'd rather retire. But we need them. We need that wealth of knowledge that they have, combining it with technology. So how do you bridge that gap with upskilling, reskilling, especially teachers and those that have been in the field for a very long time that are kind of in some ways stuck in their ways?
Yeah, I think it definitely is a challenge. I think by human nature, we like things that are consistent, that are repeatable, that there's a pattern that we can recognize. And so, whenever there's disruption, which innovation often causes, you have to be able to adjust and adapt. And we're currently in the season as a whole, leveraging AI in different ways. Generative AI in particular has been a catalyst for lots of change in the marketplace to be able to figure out, well, how are we able to work with technology to be able to get things done, whether it's a co-pilot or what have you. And so I think now is the time of saying, well, based on my role or the objectives that I have, what are some ways that I can reskill to leverage technology to be more efficient, but also create capacity for me to be more creative in some of the things that I'm doing. And so it definitely is change management as far as what that looks like, whether it's within education, business, healthcare, government, etc. But I think it takes leaders to be able to create the environment and culture to say, you know what, it's okay to do new things. It's also okay to not be good at something. Oftentimes, I find that when you have
Well said.
levels of expertise, you don't want to let that persona go. You're like, well, I'm the expert, but as things change, you also have to grow and change as well. So I would say that it's definitely important to have a culture of growth, but also know that as things change, we have to change as well.
Yeah, that is life, and that is life for sure. Let me go to the comment section because I got people in here. We got Operation Tech Takeover. OTTO says peace and blessings, family. Tech Coach Rouse says Eric's camera is so crispy, making me feel like I need to level up. All right, yeah, I was saying he did a great job with that for sure. I had to go back to this one because knock knock. Mitch is at the door. He is in the building. So glad to see you guys here. And LinkedIn, if y'all in the building, let me know as well. Mitch says, be an expert at hiring experts or finding who the experts are. That is important. And speaking about the future, because you kind of hinted to that a little bit during this entire conversation, we talked about AI a little bit. Can we talk about what kind of careers you see in the future? I know you have an innovative mind. What trends do you see that are leading to people to probably say, hey, you guys need to look at this particular career, especially if you're a youth or even a young adult? You guys probably want to lean towards this side because there's going to be a lot of change that's happening. And if you are one of the first to actually be prepared, upskill, reskill to get there, that you're going to be able to take advantage of this opportunity. What areas in the industry should people be looking at specifically?
Yeah. So when we think about AI in particular, foundationally, it's you're dealing with data, and so for those, I know STEM is obviously something that's very popular. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and so being able to understand, manipulate the cleansed data, having that data skill set is something that's going to be in demand going forward because it's driving lots of the innovation. I would also say that, interpersonal skills or the arts and humanities, which is the background I came from, I studied communications and philosophy, is also
Mm,
very important. Because when we think about this notion of things being automated and being able to have bots, I think we're going to start to appreciate the human connection, and being able to have problem solving skills as it relates to collaborative intelligence. And so, although we're making lots of advancements in technology, I think that we're also going to become dependent on and having a deeper appreciation for interpersonal skills, as far as being able to lead teams, being able to create new ideas as it relates to bringing people together from different locations internationally. And so I think this is an exciting time where definitely foundational skills in STEM, but also the arts and humanities is something that's going to be just as important as we move in the future.
And I have a question after that question about interpersonal skills. Why do you think there's such a focus on interpersonal skills moving forward? Do you feel like that's a lack of interpersonal skills from the next generation that's affecting how that is valued? Like what makes specifically interpersonal skills so valuable at this particular juncture?
Yeah, what's interesting is as a technologist in supporting different teams, oftentimes the technology is straightforward. That we have the blueprint, we have the algorithm, we were able to have the proof of concept, but it's typically the bureaucracy or the logistics of the team dynamics, or so many other aspects that go into making a project successful, or even able to be able to create societal impact. And so I think that as students that have grown up in the digital age, sometimes they've made a big emphasis on the technical skills, but don't necessarily have the opportunity to facilitate or practice being able to interview or being able to interact with disparate teams. And so that skill set is going to also be just as important. And so it's good to have a balance of both, of saying, all right, I am technically competent, but I'm
Mm.
also have levels of empathy and understand people and differences, and I'm able to interact with people who think and look different than me.
You know what? And that weighs heavily on the fact that I believe, even though AI is coming pretty quickly, And even though there are placing some functions of some jobs here and there, the human in the loop is still important. Having that human personal touch is still going to be a part of how we interact, how we do business, how we basically even run technology, because that empathy is huge. Uh, I mean, it's amazing, especially listening to recently the Chat GBT and the voice translator and all the different things there. It feels like you're speaking to a human being. It's amazing. It's realistic. But at the end of the day, the actual human connection goes a long way and has a lot of value. And then I'm gonna go to the comment section real quickly because I saw this. Actually, this is from a LinkedIn user. I'm sorry I don't see who it is, but it says great discussion and championing of innovation. Love it. And then we have Faris here says soft skills with industry specific knowledge. We also have Mitch coming back with anyone can learn software. The real skill is, are you able to speak to the technologies or people or network? And with that being said, I'm opening up right now for Q&A from the audience because I know we have VPs of data on here. We have people that work in QA that have tons of backgrounds that on a daily basis, there's some level of innovation that you have to do for your particular roles. And so I would love to give the opportunity for you to speak with Eric right now. In fact, I'm going to drop this call in link. This is going to be exclusive to YouTube, unfortunately, y'all. So if you're not on YouTube, I apologize. You're not going to be able to click on it. But if you are on YouTube, I'm going to drop in the call in link for this particular show. So feel free to call in if you want to speak directly with us and have any sort of questions. Or if you're shy, you can go ahead and drop it in the chat. Either way, it is totally fine. But Eric, innovation, this particular word is kind of making me excited right now because there's so much areas of innovation that we can have, and like we talked before about finding those gaps that people can really be able to use. Right now, I've seen I can't lie to you. I can't count how many companies right now have since I don't know since last year have been now saying AI, AI, AI. We do real time AI, all this sort of stuff. How could somebody distinguish between those that are truly being innovative and those that are trying to be copycats?
No, that's a really powerful question. And honestly, it takes a level of discernment. And I think it comes down to what problem are you trying to solve? And I think it relates to that. I think what's interesting about innovation is sometimes the person or the solution isn't the first to be done, but they were able to add a nuance that tailored to a particular industry that made it innovative and effective for that particular audience. And so I think right now what's interesting is like the concepts are not new, but if they're being tailored and personalized for particular use case and problems, then it's new to that individual. But it does take a level of due diligence to look at, all right, how long have this company been in existence? Is there others that have solved this problem in an efficient way with different
Mm,
case studies and proof of concepts that I can follow? And so it really depends on the person, the interpreter, to say, all right, are they doing the research to figure out, is this innovative for them? Because it may be new for them, but it hasn't been new to the marketplace, or it has been new. It's been in the marketplace for a long time, but it's just now new for them. And so what makes me what comes to mind is there is this bell chart, bell curve that Gartner uses quite a bit, and it's
yeah.
basically about technology adoption. And interestingly enough, in the beginning of that curve is the innovators, and then you have the early
Mm,
adopters, then you have the late adopters, laggers, etc. And I think that being able to know where you are on that spectrum, and even in your organization, as you're going and you're looking and say, "Oh, this is new," but if you're a lagger, it'd be good to talk to someone who is an innovator to say, "Hey, is this something that's valuable, or is this going to solve my problem?" Because it could be dated.
that's where you come in, right? So having someone like yourself that's on the team that says, "Hey, I got this technology. Some salesperson reached out to me about this. Is this truly the best of the best, or am I just kind of going for fool's gold here?" And so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do see a comment in the comment section, so I'm gonna definitely go to it after this. But do you think that companies will start probably hiring CIOs, not chief information, but chief innovative officers soon? People that are really kind of going in and kind of evaluating. I mean, it might actually come in CCO and CIO. They're all kind of the same, right, in certain areas. but do you think that this might become an opening in companies where they're saying, hey, we actually provide have people that are just focused on innovation within our company specifically?
Yes, I've definitely worked with some chief innovation officers in the past, and I think
Hmm.
in particular companies that are definitely forward thinking and having a big research arm, have embedded that into their culture to say, in order for us to have competitive advantage, continue with business continuity in different realms, for us to be able to invest in having a team that's able to have a sandbox and try out things and be able to work with different business units to understand what the potential value could be of leveraging these emerging technologies. And so that role does exist, but I also, to your point, believe that that's going to be an area or space where organizations continue to invest in, because they realize at the pace of change, they're going to need to be able to be a few steps ahead. In
Yeah.
addition to that chief innovation officer role, I think about the chief people officer or individuals when it comes to upskilling and reskilling. As you're thinking about these emerging technologies, whether it's chatbots or generative AI, et cetera, making sure that you have that talent in house before you need to solve the problem is important.
Mm.
And so I think just like they're having this chief innovation team to be able to be forward thinking and to be able to test out different ideas and experiment, and be able to bring value back to the business. I think from a people development standpoint, also being able to think about, all right, how are we empowering our people to be able to be where the puck is going?
I love that. Go where the puck is going. And I got this comment from Faris. But listen, y'all, I'm going to let you know right now. It's Memorial Day weekend. I'm not keeping Eric here all day long. So if you have any questions, we'll go ahead and have this conversation. But if the questions are not going to roll in, I'm going to let Eric go because I want him to enjoy his weekend, y'all. But I do have a comment section. I do have a comment from the comment section here from Faris. It says the issue with the current AI innovation in cybersecurity is that there's a lot of false positives or it's only surface level. I would recommend GRC slash auditing slash soft skills in cyber going to be bigger. I want to know, do you have any thoughts about this particular topic?
Yeah, I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but what I would say is that with all innovation, there are purposes that are for good, but also nefarious actors as well. And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to keep up with the security trends, making sure you have great frameworks in place to be able to ensure that although you're doing something innovative, you're not necessarily creating an attack vector for your organization, because that definitely can be something that gets more publicity than the positive outcomes that you intend. And so security is foundational. And I think it's important as you're evaluating organizations to understand what their security posture is, but also how they're continuing to be innovative in the place of protecting your data wherever that data may be stored to ensure that you don't have any of those attacks. And so I totally agree with the comment. And I think it's something that security, privacy, compliance, governance is core to the innovative process.
Yeah, especially with the emergence of AI and the late adapters. I mean, I think we're kind of like in that lagger stage right now, honestly speaking. But like for those that are adapting it now, being conscientious of this is so important. Ty Smith actually said something right here. A question he has: explain AR, VR, MR, XR, and what use cases are not most excited. What use cases you are most excited about for 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, what's interesting is my background, which I didn't talk about thus far, has been historically focusing on extended reality, which is the blending of the physical and digital. And so, augmented reality on one end, which you can leverage through a phone, and they have some AR headsets, and then VR on the other end of the spectrum. And I've helped enterprises understand what is the art of the possible, but how you can leverage it in a business context. And ultimately, now when we think about all this data, ideally you want to see the data in context. And so whether
Mm,
I am someone that's in construction, whether I'm in healthcare, whether I am in logistics or manufacturing, I want to be able to look at a piece of product or at a site or at a plant and be able to get data in context. And so historically, that's been a see what I see remote assistance scenario. Now with advances in AI, you're able to have a co-pilot, and so this co-pilot can be able to help you do particular tasks. And so from a training and upscaling standpoint, if I'm new at Toyota or some company making cars, and I want to be able to get familiar with the process before even going to the plant, I can in VR or an AR be able to walk through a particular procedure. But then now with Copilot and different AI enhancements, I'm able to have a conversation with a bot that has the knowledge base. And so instead of looking through paper or trying to figure out, okay, what task, I can just say, hey, I'm doing this thing, or you see what I'm doing. What should I do next? And it tell me. That's something that is definitely enhancing and supporting learning and development in a new, interactive, and natural way.
You know what? And that I'm so glad that Ty brought this up. Listen, if y'all again find any value in this, go ahead, share this with others, especially those that are looking to find ways that they could be innovative at their job. Just go ahead and do that. If you want, you can subscribe, but you're grown. Do whatever you want when it comes to subscribing, right? But in regards to this topic here, which I thought was very interesting, this impacts the medical industry. This impacts so many different areas where we could utilize this when it comes to training and preparing students and preparing people to actually I mean, of course, there's nothing like actually doing the job when you're in the field and you're able to touch and to feel these different things virtually in a safer environment. It adds more confidence when you actually get the chance to go out and do the actual thing. Farris says, awesome. And he was believe responding to what you said regarding cybersecurity and AI innovation. And then Mitch also says, definitely agree about data in context. That is so true. That is so true. Well, listen, y'all. Like I said, if there's nothing coming through, I'm not keeping Eric here any longer. So, Eric, in case they are writing out their comments or questions, oh, look at that. I got one question that popped up here. I got Randall that says, what have you found are the best ways to incentivize innovation in an organization? For example, is it better to assign roles for innovation or to someone better incentivize all to do it? Like roles versus incentivizing the company at large.
No, that's a great question. I think a combination of both. I believe
Mm.
that, thinking about that curve that I mentioned earlier, there are natural individuals that are innovators within every organization, and it's about being able to empower those individuals to be champions, creating a space for them to be able to go as fast as they want within a safe environment to learn, but then to be able to have them as champions to be able to support the larger population of the organization. So I think it's good to be able to have particular groups of individuals that are able to go ahead faster, but then making sure that you're also making it so that those individuals are able to meet people where they are in their journey, the laggers or individuals that may be pessimists in the process, to be able to support them in their growth. Because I often find that sometimes you have this innovative group and they go on and do this thing, but it's like, well, who's going with you? So it's important to be able to make sure that the
Mm.
learnings that happens from the integrative group is able to be pushed out and be able to be consumed by the rest of the population.
Yeah, and I saw the comment section here. I saw Farris said I saw a video of a doctor using Apple Vision Pros during surgery. Very low latency. Wow, that is quite the feat right there. And then Tech Coach Ralph, he's basically just blasting everything you got. He said follow. He said go visit the website. Go on IG for Eric to connect with Eric. Go on LinkedIn. And I definitely would encourage that as well. In fact, I have all of his links that he provided to me below in the comment section. So whether you're when you're on YouTube or on LinkedIn, you could be able to definitely take advantage of that. Randall said, "Excellent, thanks, Eric. Thank you for that." And so, Eric, right now, I'm going to give people a little more time to respond before we close out. But is there something that we haven't touched today that you would say, man, if I don't share this, I would be remiss not to talk about this. Anything on top of mind that we haven't talked about that you'd love to share?
Yeah, it came up briefly, but I want to double click on it as we close out. And the value of mentorship, I think is
Yeah.
key. In my journey, I've had the pleasure of having some amazing mentors and coaches, and I think that my message to you all is if you have the opportunity to share your expertise with someone else and to be able to strengthen someone else's journey, to do so. But also to intentionally seek out as you're trying to become more innovative, to be able to make entrepreneurship type of opportunities within your organization or entrepreneurial efforts outside, to be able to find mentorship and find community. I think we go further together. And so mentorship is crucial. If you want to learn more about how you can mentor, I definitely have some resources available. But I would say that mentorship is important, and it's about creating that legacy and being able to share your successes with others.
Love it. Love it. Listen, this is a Memorial Day special here. We have Eric Brown Jr. with us. So many nuggets that you definitely need to go back and listen to that in its entirety, this conversation, because there's things there that I'm like, oh, I got to go back and listen to it later on. And I was here. So definitely go ahead and do that. Tech Coach Ralph says facts. Get yourself a mentor. Mentor, sponsor, definitely get that. Uh, jo- Joseph, is there a show on Monday morning? Well, we'll talk about that for sure. And then Faris is giving you a clap up for the guest. But yeah, he's referring to the Monday morning show that Trey and I have. Stay tuned. We do have that coming. It should be coming. So stay tuned. We'll give an announcement on that this Memorial Day weekend. As long as you're awake to see it, because we do that pretty early, 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Central. So definitely lock in with us if you are interested in watching the morning show this Monday on Monday mornings, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever time works best for you. But Eric, thank you so much for jumping on this. Like I said, I'm not going to keep you long. You provide a great amount of information to us. Again, everyone, the links to connect with Eric are below. I would encourage you to definitely connect with him on LinkedIn and just collaborate. You never know. You never know what a little conversation could lead to. So, to next time, family, like I always say, I hope to see you on the other side. Take care, family.